Are you on, Rachel?
Yeah.
Hello. We are just starting here, welcoming everybody. We're going to let everyone kind of file in before we get started. So hang on and we'll get started in a second. Go ahead, Nicole. Thank you guys for joining.
Wonderful. Thank you everyone for joining us for our first ever Northwest Natural Street of Dreams at Home Design Night. My name is Nicole Kybrios. I'm the General Manager of California Closets of Oregon and your host for tonight's panel. We are excited to have you all with us, so grab a glass of your choice and enjoy this fun and inspiring design discussion. Before we kick things off, I'd like to introduce Brenda Hartzog, Channel Manager at Northwest Natural, to say a few words. We would like to thank Northwest Natural for being our title sponsor of the Northwest Natural Street of Dreams for so many years. Brenda?
Thank you, Nicole. And thank you, Home Builders Association staff, for all of your hard work in putting together this first ever Northwest Natural Street of Dreams Design Night virtually. For 44 years, we've physically traveled through beautiful homes. Actually, I haven't for 44 years, probably been about 10 years. But for 44 years, people have physically traveled through beautiful homes, admiring awesome, visually pleasing design, decor, and must-have appliances at the Street of Dreams. But as we navigate through these difficult times, safety is first and foremost, whether we are talking about providing you service through our product or within the communities we serve during COVID. Northwest Natural has been a leader in a number of areas, including pipeline safety, renewable natural gas, and Northwest Natural has consistently ranked #1 in customer satisfaction in the West, and also rated among the top utilities in the nation as measured by J.D. Power and Associates. We are actively engaged in the communities we serve. We've been updating our systems to better work with our customers and industry partners. And through rapidly improving technology, we all are adapting to this new way of gathering and sharing information about products and ideas that will help us create and realize dreams in our own homes, as well as those of our clients' homes. Northwest Natural is pleased to be a sponsor and looks forward, as I'm sure you do, to the great insight of this panel of knowledgeable and talented women. Thank you. Nicole, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Brenda. California Closets is so happy to be a sponsor of the Northwest Natural Street of Dreams as well. We have been a sponsor for multiple years now and look forward to our annual collaboration with the Portland area's top designers and builders to create beautiful spaces inside the Street of Dreams homes. We are located in Tualatin since 1984, have been serving the greater Portland area, doing all of our manufacturing right here. And so we're just so delighted to have all of you join us for Design Night. We want to hear from you all too, so make sure you type in questions using the Q&A button on your screen. We will have time for questions at the end. Feel free to type in your questions as you think of them. We will compile questions and get to as many as we can and promise to wrap it up by 5:30. Now, on to our panelists. You'll get inspiration and ideas from these fabulous women here today, so let me introduce them right now. We have Brittany Tiffany of Tiffany Home Design, Wendy O'Brien of Wendy O'Brien Interior Planning and Design, Lynette Sandgren of Renaissance Home, Huji Shearer of Miller Paint, and Lori Mills of California Closets. Welcome, ladies. So glad to have you all. So I'd love to go ahead and start off with some questions that we've already received from folks. This one's going to be for Lynette. As a designer who's currently focused on new home construction, what trends are you seeing in 2020?
Well, 2020 has been quite a year, obviously, for everyone. And because we're planning, always planning ahead, what we're seeing obviously is a resurgence to the importance of home and health and healing. Everyone that we're hearing from now are looking for flex spaces within their homes, obviously, that, will work for kids and homeschool and offices, multi-office situations for many of our buyers, and then retreat space as well. So something like outdoor covered living, that's been a big selling feature in new construction, all of a sudden is just king. So we're really seeing a contingent in that. And then some surprising things like swimming pools. All of a sudden we've had a huge request for swimming pools and just the vacation at home. So that's the direction we're seeing a lot of our buyers.
That's fun, designing for that staycation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Are others seeing that as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. We're getting requests for, like she's saying, the recreation spaces, so the kids can run wild and do their thing, but also they're needing spaces for the study areas. We're definitely getting a lot of requests for that because it's so important to the kids keeping up with school right now.
Yeah, having that dedicated, organized space is important for the child and the moms, right? There's only so much wine in the middle of the afternoon. Great. We have another question here that has come in, and this one is, we're thinking about remodeling our existing home, but not sure to what to do and to what extent during this pandemic we can do things. Have you found that homeowners are making small or big changes to their homes at this time?
I'm finding that homeowners are doing whatever they're needing at this time. A lot of people are just saying, you know what, I can't look at this furniture anymore and I need some new furniture. We've been stuck in the house and we've been thinking about doing this and now it's time to do it. And then I have a lot of clients that are doing additions to their home and we're helping them space plan those additions and get things passed and permitted and things like that now, so that when the time does come that things free up a little bit more, they'll be able to go ahead and just move right into construction phase. But we're seeing, everything from the littlest thing to the largest things, also remodeling even parts of their home plus an addition. So it's, the gamut out there of things that we can offer our clients right now.
We're definitely seeing a resurgence of DIY on our end, just more bite-sized projects that people could do in a weekend. We've spent a lot of time on social media trying to help people with color for something as simple as just refreshing your front porch with a beautiful front door color, and how if you bring in some other colorful accessories, then all of a sudden your front porch then becomes an oasis, similar to what we were talking about, of wanting more of that outdoor space where you can safely distance, but you can chat with your neighbors and feel like you're still connected to your neighborhood.
We're seeing a ton of work. It is amazing that people are wanting to do large jobs, small jobs, a lot of home offices, actually a lot of garage storage. I think people are getting into their garages, looking for their bikes and the other things that they're going to use while they're at home, and finding that they really need some help to get everything organized. So we've been very pleasantly amazed at the fact that everybody still wants to do projects in their home right now.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of creating with that, again, that flex space. Multi-office spaces in a home, because most people are working from home. I don't know about anybody else, but I really cannot sit in an office with my husband and be on a Zoom call. So trying to create those separate spaces for people to keep working and keep going, but also carving out some space, maybe what was just a bonus for a small workout area, not only for the adults, but for the kiddos in the house, right? So getting creative with those flex spaces has been a big surge in the calls that we're getting right now. And getting creative. Some people don't have the space to do an addition. So again, working on those garages, getting them organized, that maybe that then now is a home gym setup for the family. Just because, again, that trying to keep us all in a good space right now is important. So just that, healthy living and, a workspace that you can actually get the job done during the day. And then be able to step away and then be with your family all in the same space is going to be really important for, I think now and short term, but also long term. I think a lot of people are realizing that in companies that they can work from home and still be productive. So I don't think that these trends are going to go away anytime soon. I think we're going to see it increase even more.
I feel like there's definitely been a trend to minimize our footprints over the past few years, myself included. We built an ADU in our backyard, and we've been quarantined in 365 square feet, my husband and I and our dog. But I'm just wondering if you guys are seeing on the design side, just exactly what you said. You feel like that the tiny home trend is going away, and now people are wanting to sort of maximize to be able to work from home or have more places for kids? And do you see that the smaller footprint living going away, or just simultaneously kind of growing with the maximizing idea as well?
Yeah, I've had a lot of clients that are just wanting to finally finish out their basement space and turn that into some functioning space for themselves, even adding saunas and things like that. Going back to Lynette's point of, taking care of ourselves and really treating ourselves well. So there's a lot of things that we're putting into homes that help people maintain their sanity through all of this.
Absolutely. And what Brittany was saying about flex spaces, we actually have a lot of things. I'm working on several things right now that are combination home office and guest room spaces, people looking at wall beds so that they can set up an office space in that guest room and get the bed out of there. So there's room to work every day and even make it an exercise space when they're not working, but have the bed available. So that's happening quite a bit.
We've been turning a lot of dining rooms into the flex spaces lately because you really can't entertain large groups right now. So the dining rooms are turning into the kids' study spaces.
Are you having to enclose them? Are you getting requests at all for people needing?
I'm getting a lot of requests that was open, trying to come up with, a barn door system or something, right, that could be not so permanent. Mm-hmm. They needed to then change it back to the dining for resale value, what have you, but trying to look at that. And another thing that the challenges though with all of this I'm seeing is getting the trades available to do, like you mentioned, pools, meant to try to get a bid on a pool, and it's crazy. There's not enough trades right now to keep up with the home demands.
Right. It's unusual.
Yeah, patience is key right now.
So I do see some questions that are popping up, and one of the first questions here is that someone had missed the introduction of Brenda, and I know Brittany, you wanted to take a moment to make sure you reintroduced Brenda to the group at home.
Yeah, so Brenda, hello. So Brenda's with Northwest Natural, and she has, you've been just a huge key part of not only Street of Dreams, but the Home Builders Association for, as long as I've been a member. So we love having you on board today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Always a friendly face when she walks through our door. Yeah, such a great support.
Thank you. I'm glad to be a part of it.
We have another question that's popped up here from Mark Pontarelli. Any suggestions on changing the palette when you have lots of warm tones and surfaces you don't need to replace, but you want to go in a cooler direction?
I can take a stab at that one to start. From a paint perspective. We can dive into color trends for 2021, later on in the panel. But for this, if you're already seeing a lot of warmer tones, my suggestion is you can combat it with a cool tone, maybe something with more gray undertones. So you can lighten a space and brighten a space with an off-white with maybe more of grayish or bluish undertones, which would work well depending on, if you have oak tones or those warmer tones that are coming out. in the wood without having to go all the way to a blue or something that's recognizably a cool color or a green. So I would think about doing something that overall appears neutral but has cooler undertones to it.
We have a fun question here, wanting to know if the designers could all show us what their happy hour drinks are.
Oh, Pinot Noir.
I see.
Tequila and ginger beer.
Ooh.
Oh, good.
My favorite.
Water disguised as wine. I'll have my real glass.
Troy, not that fun. In a Yeti.
Follow-up question, how does that impact your designs? Not really a question.
Not very
Much more colorful, that's for sure.
A lot of color.
So we had a real interesting question here. One person was wondering, how much can you expect a Street of Dreams home to cost by the square foot?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a tough question to know for sure, because you know, there's many variables. There's different building materials that cost more and cost less. But you know, let's say on the average Street of Dreams home maybe is around 4,500 to 5,000 square feet. I think you could probably safely say around 225 to 250 a square foot. It could be less than that, but again, there's so many variables there to take into consideration. The windows, you know, the type of windows you're using, are they vinyl, aluminum clad, wood, you know, I mean, that runs pretty big difference between all of those types of things. So there's a way to control costs and there's a way to spend a little bit more. So it's kind of a good idea to talk to your builder and let them know what your comfort level is and if it's for you.
How about for the home furnishings? Can you give an idea of just what the home furnishings in a Street of Dreams runs on average?
Yeah, I can kind of take on that question. I would say, kind of based on what Wendy was just chatting about on a home, you know, that 4,500 to 5,000 square feet. You know, when you walk into those Street Dream houses, you know, there's, I call layers in there. You know, there's the furnishings, window coverings, you know, accessories, live plants, art, you know, all those layers and accessories in there. I would say, again, it's kind of, there's some variables obviously in some of the furnishings selected, but, you know, I like to kind of do a price per square foot as well with those Street of Dreams so that we all kind of have a good gauge of what that is. And, you know, I would say anywhere from $20 to $30 a square foot would give you that, what Street of Dreams looks like when you're walking through those homes at that 4,500 to 5,000 square feet. You know, upper level on those, you know, $1.5 million to $2 million-ish homes. That's kind of what you're looking at for that.
Any pro tips on how you could achieve some of the dramatic things on a DIY scale or a little bit of a lower budget?
Well, I mean, personally, I think one of the biggest things that can completely change any space is paint. And I'm sure Pooji can, you know, talk further and deeper into that. I also think now what's amazing is light fixtures. There's so many beautiful light fixtures out there, and the cost and price points on so many of them are really, you know, really in that comfort level that you can change something out and make a room look completely different. You know, another layer to that is even artwork. You know, go and, you know, now that we can go out and source artwork, but, you know, go find some beautiful pieces, maybe reframe it. You know, and get creative and just find those beautiful things. You know, I love live plants in a space. You can go to Home Depot and get a beautiful spider plant, put it in a cute pot. Not only does it give you just some beautiful greens in a space, but it's good for the air, and especially with all of us, you know, working from home and being at home. I think, you know, everybody can keep some plants alive. Don't tell me you can't. You know, there's plants out there that can, you know, you water every 2 weeks, but it just, it not only freshens the air for you, you know, for us personally and health, you know, for our health, but they're just beautiful and beautiful colors in our space. inexpensive. Yeah.
Another great source for plants too is Appetite Shop. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but they have a shop on Burnside and then also down in Central East Side in the design district inside of Cargo. It's another great resource if you're looking for like colorful accessories and a little more on the eclectic side of plants. That's a great spot called Appetite Shop. But I would definitely agree with you on the largest transformation. Of course, I'm obviously biased being in the paint industry, but I mean, paint is on the interior, it's 75% of what surrounds you. It's on all four walls, and it's on your ceilings. And so if you're really looking, and it's probably the least expensive part of whole remodeling project. It's one of the last things that gets done. And, you know, the cost of a gallon of paint, you don't need, you know, very much paint to paint even just a room to make that type of impact. And its color is everywhere and it surrounds you. And so if you are really looking for change, which is what we've seen with people spending so much time in their homes, and probably more than we've ever spent before. It's like if you're, you know, pre-COVID running in and out of your house, you're like, oh yeah, I'll get to that. Or I don't really like the color of that wall. Or I've really been wanting to paint this bathroom. It's like now you're staring at it every single day. And that's what we've seen is, you know, as an essential business, our stores remained open and a lot of the home improvement stores remained open. So people were either painting or gardening, especially like the first, you know, during the real lockdown in the beginning of March and April. So we saw a huge increase in that, but it also is grounding too, to be able to paint your home, and you just feel that much more connected to your space doing it yourself as well.
A sense of accomplishment that we all need right now.
Yeah.
I agree with Brittany. As far as the, you know, cost of light fixtures with just maximum scale and input, and they just really change a room. And then obviously don't forget to add the dimmers. The dimmers are key.
Yes.
And to me, lighting is everything. It's how you feel in your environment, and you can have the most beautiful fixture, and if it's not dimmed appropriately and working in contrast throughout the day, it really can throw things off. So to me, I am just a huge fan of dimmers on almost everything. And I have two lights I turn on every night to either side of my TV. I have to go, one's not even on, I have to go plug it in. Kind of crazy, but it just sets the tone and I feel relaxed. And if I don't have those on, the room just doesn't feel right. So
lighting is huge. We have a really interesting design question, and it's popped up from two different people, so I want to make sure that we give a little time to it. And this has to do with how tastes have evolved and not wanting to get into too much of a cookie cutter style, so following a trend but still making it your own. And this person's writing that they don't want to just go ahead and do the Johanna Gaines look, although it's lovely and successful for good reasons. She struggles with marrying that with all of her other interests, and is seeing what the concept of the grand millennial or granny chic, which appears to be kind of, you know, that pared down, modernized vintage, right? A modernized vintage. So curious as to how you're seeing it, where you're applying it, what resources you're seeing for it.
Well, I think a lot of clients want to maintain, especially now with everything that's happening, some clean lines, and then adding their style on top of that canvas. So you can have a sofa that's maybe, you know, a taupe or a gray or even a beige brown type of color, but then you can add pillows that speak to your personality. If you have some pottery that you love, you know, you can add that to that. Use that as your inspiration to add other items into the home. And I think it was it Brittany that was saying, you know, artwork, that is definitely very personal to a lot of people. And that's how you bring all those layers in and that bring your personality to the design. But starting out with some good basic pieces is always a good way to go. You can't go wrong there. And then you can change out things, you know, as often as you want, or leave them, you know, do it one and done. But I always want my clients especially to be very, very happy with their design in the end and have it express them, not me. I'm designing for them. So they're the ones that are going to live in the home. for years to come, and with that design. So I want to make sure that we've captured their personalities. As far as, you know, where you find these things, I think you kind of have to learn, you know, what stores speak to the aesthetic that you like. Is it West Elm, or is it, you know, Restoration, or is it hip, or maybe it's Serena and Lily. There's a gamut out there, and you have to just find something to sort of latch onto, and then you can branch out from there. But kind of starting in one place and then seeing what pieces work with those key items is how I would go about it.
I think what's I love about the Pacific Northwest design aesthetic just in general is that I feel like there's just such an authenticity to design here, that design really reflects people's personal tastes. And I think that's part of the reason that there's such great vintage shops here, talking about like sort of the granny chic, is that, you know, instead of getting a knockoff mid-century couch on Wayfair, people are actually, you know, seeking out a mid-century modern couch and refinishing it at Revive Upholstery and Design, or, you know, and adding the contemporary flair to stuff that's been around for a really long time. And that can really tell the story too of a person within their home. So it's not only beautiful, but it's personal at the same time.
In speaking a little bit more to that, a question here from Carrie Postma is asking that she'd really love to hear from the designers the perspectives on the overall popular styles of that farmhouse cool tones to the more boho warm tones. And a lot of that has been addressed throughout this discussion, but part of her question is also, what do you see as the longevity to either one of these trends?
Who's going to take it? I mean, I think farmhouse is, you know, it's going to be long lasting because it's part of America. You know, I mean, that's what we've come from. That's our history. So you know, it's something you can always go back to. It's classic, it's timeless. It depends on how far you want to take that farmhouse look as to how long lasting that's going to be, possibly. Some things are more trendy. Some things are just classic and timeless, and they will forever, you know, stay. But as far as boho and those kind of designs, I think that's also a very personal type of style. You either love boho or you don't. So if you want to go with boho for a while, once again, going back to you know, have your basic pieces in plainer fabrics, and very, very efficient way of designing is changing out your accessories and not trying to buy all new pieces always. So you can just change out a few things. You don't always have to change out everything. Maybe your vases and artwork stay the same, but you changed your pillows seasonally or yearly or whatever you want to do. But you know, you kind of have to get to know yourself, and you have to know, do you like farmhouses? Is that who you are? Or are you a person who's going to like a more eclectic look or boho look or whatnot? So I think understanding yourself is kind of key to designing.
I would agree with you on the modern farmhouse aesthetic. It's not going anywhere, but what we're seeing is that it's just shifting a little bit. Before the panel opened up, we were chatting about this just a little bit, and, you know, farmhouse was, and still is in some situations, really stark, really clear whites and, you know, black. The blackest black, but we're seeing that soften just a little bit, kind of back to, you know, the whole discussion of COVID, of people wanting to really feel comforted in their homes. And so what we're seeing is whites going and trending a little bit warmer. Two colors that we're forecasting for 2021. These are two examples. This one's called Nilla Vanilla, and this one is Fresh Linen. And when they're up on the wall, they read as a white, but you can see that they just have some warmer undertones to them. They have a little bit of umber, and they work really well with natural woods, which I think is coming up, also showing up in modern farmhouse more wood tones. And color splashes. I feel like, you know, just like any trend, if you're in a trend for too long, then you start to to crave something different. So with modern farmhouse, you know, typically the exterior is just really black and white and you had a black front door, but now we're seeing it's still black and white on the exterior, but maybe you'll have like a vintage green color on the front door. So you'll just see a little bit more color kind of creeping in. So it's the overall style is staying here, but we're seeing some changes within it.
Well, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, a white or a lighter kitchen with some darker accents, you know, yes, it was black before, you know, maybe we're trending to some taupey grays on the kitchen island base, or a navy, or even a beautiful dark green, to kind of get that same look, you know, that clean look, but maybe changing up those tones a little bit. But at the end of the day, a white or a lighter kitchen is timeless.
Absolutely.
I really think that I've never seen a white, like it's pretty timeless. You know, where you maybe change out the island base cabinet color, right? That's a quick, pretty inexpensive fix. You can go from, you know, maybe right now the trend is still in that really dark black, but maybe we would start to move towards, again, one of those navies or a green, or, but you still have the perimeter cabinets kind of in that nice, you know, whiter or warmer white cabinet. It's going to be pretty timeless.
Yeah.
And enjoyable. And that's really what it comes down to for design. I mean, what is enjoyable? What makes you feel good when you're in that space? And I love to mix two different finishes in a kitchen. I've been doing that really probably 25 to 30 years in kitchen design. But again, whenever you get the whites up to eye level, it's just, like Brittany said, it's just fresh, it's light. And introducing the other finishes around it is a great way to add interest. Maybe not long is a bit of a icy for a while, and go to contemporary, which is exciting. We're taking a lot of our exteriors to dark and seeing that in the farmhouse, which is kind of a really new, fun aesthetic.
Lynette, I'm sorry, you're coming in and out a little bit. I'm not sure we're hearing you well.
It appears that I can and not talk too much. It's a so.
Unfortunately, Lynette's a little bit frozen on her screen right now, so I am going to shift to a different question and hope that we can come back and hear some more of what she was sharing with us. There was a follow-up question about lighting that somebody had submitted. What temperature of LED bulbs do you recommend so that the lighting doesn't look off?
When you're talking about LED, generally we go for somewhere around 2,700 to 3,000. The 2,700 is a little bit warmer. As you go up, 3,000 is getting a little bit cooler. So if you have a very modern interior and you want your whites and crisp colors to look more crisp, then you may want to go with a higher temperature. If you want it to be a little bit warmer, not yellow, but warmer, then go into that, you know, more like the 2,700 and 2,800, something like that. So that's what I would recommend.
Great. Oh, it looks like we have Lynette back.
Yay.
Sorry about that. I think we're having a little thunderstorm in my area.
Oh.
I'm typically not having internet problems, but right now I am. So.
There's a great question in here that I think is often on many people's mind, and that is, we'd love to hire an interior designer, but are concerned about our budget. Do you have any suggestions around that?
I always tell people to be honest with, you know, if you are working with an interior designer, what your budget is. If you can't afford an interior designer, then, you know, definitely looking at magazines and getting inspiration, looking online. You can find tons of inspiration on Pinterest and Houzz. But also a lot of designers are offering e-design services like us. We call it We Design because we design it together, but we're not as hands-on in that process. So it does help us to control the costs for the client. So that's something you might want to investigate with designers to see if they have something like that. It's been very successful for us, and the clients are very happy, and they didn't have to spend quite as much as they would have in a full service design arena.
Yeah, we've been doing quite a bit of more of that e-design last 4 to 5 months. And again, what Wendy was saying is that it allows, you know, clients that, you know, have a budget. You know, here at the end of the day, everybody has a budget.
Right.
I don't care if you're, you know, what level of home you're in or where you are, but everybody has budgets. And, you know, our goal is to try to help keep you within those. I think that's sometimes where people get a little nervous about, you know, hiring a designer, that it's going to be, you know, they're going to be way over on where they need to be and feel comfortable where they are financially. You know, I think having those conversations up front and discussing it with the clients, and oftentimes it's just that discovery, you know, maybe they just aren't aware of what all it entails, and we can kind of navigate through that. So maybe it is e-design for 5 hours or even just a few hours, or we're talking a full build, and then we can navigate through that. But the goal, like for us, you know, and I think everybody on this panel for sure is, again, everybody has those budgets, and it's our goal to not only try to keep you within those, but maybe come up with ideas of, you know, we all see things on Pinterest and House, and oftentimes taking that image and that inspiration and bringing it into your budget sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge, but that's where we can kind of help navigate that, because we're out looking at tile shops and all the vendors with materials that maybe we can get creative and get you that same look, but maybe on a budget that's more, you know, comfortable for you.
Within that, what aside from, you know, that fear around budget, what other misconceptions do you see buyers have in working with a designer in a new construction project?
Well, I think Wendy kind of tapped in on that a little bit of, you know, our goal is to help design for the clients and their taste and their style. They're going to be the ones living in the home. You know, it's their budget, right? So I think, you know, oftentimes people think it's our ideas coming into play into their home, and really we're there to help guide, to just keep them even focused on really what, oftentimes they don't know what their design is until they start showing us. And then we can kind of pull those ideas together and help push them towards an area that their design is going to be, they're going to be comfortable in their house.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, we question, we have like a check sheet of questions that we ask our clients to make sure that we're covering everything, not just on a furniture level, but also on, you know, the plumbing, the lighting, the cabinetry, the fireplace design, the hood design. I mean, everything that could be encompassed within the interior. You need to know, does your interior designer do all the things that you need to have done? So those are good conversations to have and questions to ask when you're calling an interior designer. Find out what services they provide and what services you need and how does that align. If it's not a good fit, then fine, and you know, you move on to the next. But you need to understand, you know, that interior design is really a very broad thing. We do so many things. We do everything from designing rooms to space planning, designing cabinetry, laying out the tile, doing drawings for the tile, making sure that every little piece is coming together perfectly. We've got all of our transitions and the door hardware, the door stop, I mean, the grout color. There's so many things to what we do that I think that people have to get educated on what an interior designer really is. What we do.
Yeah, ideally, you know, helping a client prioritize, you know, what's important to them, and helping you navigate. That's the, you know, just setting aside some of the fears of, can I mix these finishes? Can I do this? It can just really, I think, make the whole new home construction process is so much more enjoyable. A lot of times, Renaissance, where I'm at, we have our own studio, which is wonderful, and it makes it very efficient. Or even if you're working outside with an independent designer, clients come to me and they're nervous. You know, how long is this going to take? When do I have to make each decision along the way? And as soon as they can see that you can really kind of pull it together in a pretty simplistic way, relate things that they thought, oh, this is going to be so difficult, because of our experience and repetition of doing this over and over, we can make those decisions pretty easy. And most people usually leave going, wow, this is actually enjoyable. I never thought I would be stressful about this. So I think that's the key of having a good designer that could kind of foresee those issues up front and set your mind at ease as much as possible when you
Lynette, what you said about having experience in doing this all the time and how that can help people. Although I am working on closets and other storage areas for people's homes, it's really important for me to start out the process by making sure that everybody knows that I'm working for them in their space. I'm not going to live there, they're going to live there. It needs to make them happy. But also things like when you think about a space like a closet, for example, people come to me with a thought. Sometimes they have a drawing, and I love that, and I want to respect that. But I can also suggest things that they may not have thought of. And it's really common for somebody to go, oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, we can use this wall. Oh, well, what about, oh, I didn't know we could do this. And that makes me happy to be able to give them thoughts that they didn't have already, because I do this every day and I have been doing this a while, and I think that's great. It makes the process better for the client.
Yeah,
it does. I mean, we're really here to take the stress off, not to add to it. Because you're relying on us, you're leaning on us to help guide you through the whole process.
Mm-hmm. Got some great questions here about paint and color that I'd like to go ahead and switch to. This one question written by Sherry Rich is wonderful. Is it weird to paint the wainscoting and the wall white? What do you think, panelists?
Well, I painted the crown molding, the wall, and my wainscoting all one color. So I actually love to make it all one color. I feel like it has sort of an old world European vibe to it. I live in before I was living in the ADU, live in a small ranch home in North Portland. And from the outside, it looks like a mid-century modern home built in 1952. And then I went inside, and somebody who lived in there in the 80s, a contractor, put wainscoting and crown molding, and there's only 8-foot ceilings. And all of a sudden I was like, whoa, there's just a lot going on here. And I'm like, this isn't like the mid-century modern ranch that I thought this was going to be. But I fell in love with the house. And so one way to modernize it was to paint everything one color. So I definitely love that look, and it doesn't have to be white. I mean, I have that, it's going out throughout my whole house, and I have 9 different colors in 900 square feet. They're all varying tones of different neutrals. They all work well together, but you know, even if you have a really dark, rich color that's, I mean, similar to, you know, the color that Wendy, that you have behind you on wainscoting and walls and crown molding it, I think that can be really beautiful. And it is, in a way, it's kind of contradictory because it is old world, but it also modernizes a space at the same time.
I think the monochromatic look is probably more successful with some color versus a full white, because you're going to get the texture of the different sheens of a wall finish to a flat millwork with a little bit of semi-gloss. And even though I love white, and we're definitely using all shades of white and enjoying that freshness, I find it can make one or the other elements feel a little unfinished. So doing exactly what she was just discussing in a monochromatic wall with a little bit of,
oh, Lynette, we're lost you again a little bit. I am going to ask Pooji, could you show us some colors that aren't white that are up and coming popular colors?
Absolutely. So we just finished up our 2021 color trends, and we're really seeing two different color stories for the year ahead, but they are really connected. And a lot of it has to do with our current experience, like we've talked a lot about, just being so connected to our homes. And also 2020 being a really challenging and uncertain year for all of us with a lot of fear around it. And so the two color stories that we're seeing really are grounded in hope and also in connection. And cool blues are really representative of a hopeful hue. Here's two colors that we're seeing that are currently trending and that we'll see a lot more of in 2021. This one is called Symbol Serenity. This is actually the blue color that's behind me. And this one is called Chicago Skyline. And the blues, you know, it's navy, as we've discussed, has been popular for a while, but we're craving a little bit more of an uplifting, brighter color, almost the feeling of when you go outside and you look up and it's a beautiful blue sky on a sunny day. And it's that feeling of hope and expansiveness that we're craving in these two colors. We, you know, surrounding ourselves with these in our home can really help to promote that. The other color story that we're seeing has a lot to do with connection and feeling really grounded within our home and wanting a sense of stability. And that's more in the earthy, warm tones. And so terracottas are trending right now. We're seeing, we're not even, I mean, it is in wall color, but we're also seeing it. We've discussed a lot around plants tonight, thinking about just even terracotta pots within your home. So these colors are representative for us, what we're seeing in wall colors, but also in textiles and accessories and wood tones. So this color is called Kingdom's Keys, and this one is Peace of Mind, or two colors that we're seeing. And then on the accent front, we talked about the warmer white shift, but then also on the accent front, really complex colors are becoming more forefront. And what I mean by that is colors that are actually kind of hard to describe. So you're not looking at it and be like, oh, that's yellow or that's a pink. So this color is called Fire Dance, and you can see that it's definitely more of a greeny yellow. So if you've got two colors combined or three colors combined into one, that complexity is something that I feel like adds a lot of interest to interiors, especially. This color is, it's called Deep Space, and this is a beautiful cabinet color too when we're talking about kitchen islands, thinking about introducing a color like this into a space with white and black. Obviously strong overall, it's more of a green, but a lot of blue and black undertones as well. So that's really the two stories that we're seeing, is that the hope and the connection piece, and how color really is connected to the world around us and what's going on within our day to day, but then also our hopes for the future.
Beautiful shades, absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wendy, I'm curious, when you're looking at some of those, how do those reflect some of the plans that you've currently been working on?
Well, definitely the warmer tones that we're talking about in the farmhouse arena, going a little bit creamier with the whites, and then the wood tones are really softening. They're not as dark and rich as they were at one point, and they're just really becoming a little bit more that terracotta kind of tonality, but in a wood grain tone, you know, stain or finish type like that. But you know, but those greens and things like that, we are seeing some gorgeous tiles for backsplashes and showers and things like that, in those really rich blues, and the greens are like a forest green. I mean, they're pretty amazing. They got a lot of punch. So, you know, it's not for everybody, but if you want to balance that out with, you know, maybe on your kitchen island, you do the green and then you do your backsplash in a green as well. You know, that can work really well. And then you go with a softer tone in the cabinetry and, you know, temper it that way.
And something, Wendy, that you just touched on too, is this migration to warmer tones, looking at like the softer terracottas and peaches. You know, millennial pink was strong for a long time, which moved into blush, which is now going more towards the brownier, earthier peaches. And so you can just start to sort of see how it started one place and now it's slowly moving or migrating to another place. And it still feels fresh, even though it's connected to design trends from a couple of years ago. Are you guys seeing pink still as like super hot? Have you used it a lot in your designs in the past? What are your feelings on pink?
I think we're leaning more away from those brighter pinks, but we're definitely seeing more of like what you have, the grounding and comforting colors, those earthy tones. I'm really seeing kind of in the master too, you know, just some accent like a bed. And then actually, you know what, we just powder bath and laundry combination, we're really pulling together as complex colors. We just did it yesterday with that deep space that you have here and the fire dance, that bright yellow. We're actually going to do some fun things with those colors within the tile and wallpaper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's, you know, along with paint, which I love because it makes such a difference. You know, another thing that's still really strong and trending is wall coverings, wallpapers, woven wall coverings. You know, what used to be sourced for hotels and more commercial is the vinyl wallpapers, which are great because they're wipeable, easy to clean. You can put them in a bathroom or you know, laundry that it's, you know, going to still maintain its, you know, you're not going to have to replace it, but that's still a pretty strong trend. But you know, with patterns and things too, but just those natural, just woven wall coverings, just to kind of soften those walls a little bit. And even just an accent wall, like a bed wall or, you know, somewhere just to give you a little bit more cozy in a space.
Or painting the ceiling can be fabulous too, in a beautiful color. Not just white. Do something bold.
In what you're saying around this, we have a great question here from Mirna Setawan, that our main floor is one of those that is just one big open space, living room, dining room, and kitchen. What would be the most efficient way or economical way to make that one open space more interesting rather than just putting appropriate furniture on each space? Would having different wall color contrast or color accent be a good way? I guess I'd like to know how to create a semi-separation, but still feel the openness of the room.
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely ways to kind of, you know, with furniture to kind of create different living environments within that space. And paint, maybe Pidgey, you can kind of talk on that, but, you know, even just changing the tones a little bit throughout those spaces just to make it a little bit more cohesive could be a good way to kind of keep it in, you know, in line together, but kind of define a little bit more.
I often about, you know, I get this question quite a bit, is if people do want to do an accent wall, where do I do it? And my main, you know, I always think about where do you want to direct a person's focus. So really using color to carve out exactly, you know, what we're talking about, carving out a space for be it a different activity or a different vibe. But accent walls, they don't have to go corner to corner. We do a lot. I recommend quite a bit. Like you can, you know, create a beautiful, perfect line and just wrap it in an L shape if the wall continues and you don't have a natural break of a corner. So you don't have to just stop where a wall stops. You can carry it around, or you can stop it sooner to meet whatever your focal point needs are. So I'm a huge fan of using color to denote different spaces and break up a space so it just doesn't feel like one big open area if you don't want that. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes lighting can define different areas of the same space. You know, you might have like a dining area that's part of this great room area, but maybe you have a light fixture that is a little bit more linear and longer and that goes over your dining table. That's defining that this is the dining area. Maybe you have some lights pendants over your island. And so it kind of like just tells it, you know, a subliminal message of where the spaces start and stop. Maybe that could help.
Great answers. Lovely thoughts on this. Within that, people are also wanting to know a little bit more about what you see for trends on stains and how they define the room as well. So what are you seeing for wood stains?
Again, I'm seeing things going a little bit lighter, a little bit softer, but you know, I mean, I don't think we're going to have any of the mahoganies and things like that, and you know, really dark walnuts and things like that for a while. I think it's still going to be lighter and brighter. I think everybody needs to feel a little more uplifted, and until we get past, you know, some of the things that we're dealing with these days. So I see things being still a little bit lighter and brighter and more hopeful, just to kind of ease the mood.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of stains with gray undertones to them, similar to kind of what I can tell from behind you, Brittany, a little bit of of that. And we do actually do custom colors and stains at Miller Paint. So if you're looking to try to match something, we're able to do that, because I think sometimes the stock colors of stains can be really limited. So if you want flexibility in your stain color, we'd be happy to help you.
Excellent. And within that, what are your thoughts on hardware finishes for these different types of paint colors that we're seeing and wood stains?
I can try to take that, assuming my internet's working fine. Obviously, black is still huge, and that's really strong. We've had that for a few years, and I think we're going to see that continue. I love to use it in vintage homes, as styled homes, as well as obviously contemporary. The golds are back, the brasses, rose gold, soft, warm down finishes that are different than our gold of past. So, and I love mixing them, and I think that creates a beautiful layer. And I think it's something that, you know, we always encourage people to do, particularly new construction where you don't get that full monochromatic look. It's nice to actually come into a room and have some personalization. And if the client's a little hesitant about doing a whole champagne bronze master bath, maybe we would just do the light fixtures and the cabinet hardware and mix them with something that's a bit more timeless, so that when that transaction.
Oh, we got some good stuff from you, Lynette, before we lost you.
And you know, I'm going to piggyback on Lynette. I really do believe that you absolutely can incorporate different finishes in a house. It doesn't all have to be one finish. You know, you can, you know, kind of highlight the master, you know, the powder bath can be its own little element. So I think mixing not only the finishes with the hardware, but also the fixtures. You know, if it's done right, it's beautiful not to have it all be, you know, consistent. It's nice to have, you know, each room kind of have its own story. And so, you know, I think it's absolutely okay to mix those things.
Within that, Brittany, you mentioned the powder room. What Michael or Michelle Fritzler would like to see what bathroom trends we're looking at.
You know, I love to have some fun in a powder bath. It's the smallest space usually in the home, but you can go a little bit more elevated on the finishes because you just need such a smaller footprint. So, you know, taking a beautiful tile and doing the whole back accent wall, or taking, let's say you have the wood flooring in there, take that wood flooring up the wall. So you can, you know, or some wallpaper, or do both. You know, again, it's such a small space, you can have some fun in there and make it a little bit more moody. You know, that's where you can go a little bit darker, a little more intimate in there with the fixtures and the paint colors. You know, you can do those beautiful, deeper, you know, blues, or, you know, those even cooler blues in there, and it'd be really just super fun and unexpected.
Fun. And what other bathroom trends are you seeing, Wendy?
Well, we're seeing still some pattern tiles that are really beautiful. It kind of depends on whether, you know, we're going modern or are we going a little more transitional or traditional, but we're still seeing some textured tiles that are just gorgeous. There's some geometric, some have a little bit more of an organic flavor to them. I've even seen something that has like a sort of a it's black and has a crackly kind of finish to it. I mean, that's, you know, pretty dramatic. But a lot of tiles that I'm seeing in backsplashes have sort of a handmade look to them. There's also, we're going back to the square format, which we hadn't seen in quite some time. 5x5s, 4x4s. But when you put a fresh finish on those or that handmade style, and maybe you offset them from each other and don't do a straight lay, it makes them look completely fresh and new and different than what we were seeing in the 50s, let's say, or the 60s. Yeah, so it just, I'm seeing very bold colors, but I'm not necessarily seeing a lot of bold patterns, unless we're getting into some, really modern, large scale type projects.
I love the practicality of this question here. Is there such a thing as clean tile or marble for the shower?
Clean? Easy to clean.
Easy to
okay.
Tile or marble for the shower.
Well, I mean, I think that the larger the format is of the tile, let's say it's maybe an 18 by 36 as opposed to a 12 by 24, you're going to have less grout lines. If it's a porcelain tile, porcelain's pretty much tough as nails. So that's going to be very easy to clean, but make sure that it doesn't have a texture to it that's going to get mold in it and things like that. So you want something that's a little bit smoother, especially on the walls. Now on the floor, you want a little bit of texture to it so there's no slippage and things like that. But you can do an entire wall in a very large format tile, but it's very expensive. But going with a larger tile is probably the better way to go in a porcelain, and select a finish that or style that doesn't have too much texture to it. If you do pick something that has a lot of texture, try to keep it above the 48-inch level or higher, because that's where your water is usually typically going down, and it would miss that level if it's up a little bit higher, and a little easier to keep it clean.
Good. I can't believe that our happy hour is ended. Has that been a quick hour, right?
It was
That was fast.
Indeed, I want to make sure that to thank you, Brittany and Wendy, Lynette, Lori, and Pooji, for sharing your incredible design expertise. But before we say goodbye, I want to share that the Home Builders Association, who produce the Northwest Natural Street of Dreams, is launching their newest event, Portland Housing Month, which will take place during the entire month of October. It will include a scattered new home tour all around the Portland metro area, touchless designer-created window displays throughout Portland, a virtual fall home and garden show with amazing exhibitors and artisans, and month-long virtual presentations with tons of DIY demos, interior design panels, remodeler discussions, garden tours, and so much more. So check out housingmonthpdx.com for more information coming soon. And again, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.